and welcome to the MovieplotRecap channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell icon for notifications. If you haven't followed me yet, be sure to do that too. Now, let's dive into the story. The movie opens with a breathtaking shot of a beautiful woman standing in front of a mirror. She is the heroine of this film. In a voiceover, she reflects, "I don't even remember my father's face. The only thing I remember is his white uniform. Her father was a sailor. He was never there when they needed him the most. His job kept him away for long stretches of time, leaving his family behind. Then one day, the devastating news arrived. Her father had passed away. Her world collapsed. Her mother was completely broken. She had always depended on her husband, and now, without him, she was left with nothing. She could not bear the grief, and slowly she too faded away. Days passed, and suffering became a constant in the young girl's life. Eventually, her mother also passed away. Standing alone in the world, she made a firm promise to herself, "I will not live a life like my mother. I'll never depend on anyone. I will become rich and successful." From that moment on, she dedicated herself to building her life from scratch. She worked hard, studied relentlessly, and eventually became a top lawyer. "I don't need anyone to survive. I will live my life my way. Instead of mourning like mother, I will live the life that she always wished for." The film Wonderful Nightmare opens with a driven, ambitious woman lawyer. The scene shifts to a bustling city where a powerful construction magnate's teenage son has sexually assaulted a classmate. The case is gaining notoriety, but the wealthy father has hired the city's most talented lawyer, our hero, to make it disappear. This lawyer, successful and living a life of privilege, approaches the victim's mother, hoping to persuade her to drop the case. She coldly lays out the realities. The rich father will likely shield his son from any real consequences, especially since the son studies abroad. She contrasts this with the victim's future, tied to the city, and the potential social media fallout for the family if the case proceeds. "Do you need this?" she asks, emphasizing the shame and scrutiny. The mother is devastated. "You don't have a daughter," she cries, overwhelmed by the thought of her child's suffering and the powerlessness of their situation. The lawyer's words have hit their mark. The mother, distraught and fearing for her daughter's future, asks if the lawyer is right. The lawyer's associate confirms her assessment, and the mother and daughter, resigned to their fate, agree to drop the case. Leaving the meeting, the heroine's colleague observes that the community knows the young man is guilty and that the victim was deeply affected. He questions the heroine's ruthlessness. She replies that she has no time for sentiment. Her focus is earning money legally in the only way she knows how. She won't let empathy get in her way. The film then reveals another facet of the heroine's character. Independent and self-reliant, she's learning to box. Her ultimate ambition is to live entirely on her own terms, free from dependence on men. Since the case was resolved so easily, the boy's father called her over and presented her with a gift box as a token of appreciation. When she opened it, she found a brand new BMW inside. Along with the car, there was a VIP credit card, one that allowed unlimited spending, all covered by the company. It seemed like a lot of poor people still lived in that area. But then, she smirked, "In 2 years, this guy will come to me again. I'm going to demolish that place and construct a new building. There will be plenty of legal issues along the way. You will handle all that, right?" I assured her, "Don't worry, I will take care of everything." Now, the scene shifts to showcase our heroine's lavish lifestyle. She lives in an enormous house, indulging in fine dining, and is now arriving somewhere in her brand new BMW. The location? A place where her mother's ashes rest. Looking down, she speaks, almost as if addressing her mother. "Did you see how I'm living now? You trusted that irresponsible husband of yours and died with dreams unfulfilled. But I won't be like you. I will live twice as much as you ever wished to." She firmly believes that men are irresponsible, careless, and selfish. After finishing their visit, she and her companion rush back to their car. However, she has some trouble with her eyesight, particularly at night. Searching for her glasses, she struggles to see clearly. Just then, a large truck approaches. In an attempt to avoid it, she swerves the car sharply, causing it to skid. But on the other side of the road, a cat appears. She reacts instinctively, jerking the wheel once again. The car veers uncontrollably and flies off a bridge. The next moment, they find themselves in a vast, white space. A mysterious token is in their hands. Confused, they approach the workers around them, asking where they are and how they ended up in this strange hotel-like place. They notice people being escorted through various doors, each leading to an unknown destination. Still bewildered, they proceed to the reception desk. The receptionist greets them and asks for their names and dates of birth. As they type the details into an iPad, the receptionist's expression suddenly changes. Panic-stricken, she rushes inside, asking them to wait. Inside, she finds a man who bears a striking resemblance to a motherly figure, perhaps the manager of this place. At that moment, he is scolding another worker. The mistake. The worker had accidentally sent someone to heaven, someone who was supposed to die 30 days later. Furious, the manager orders him to leave his job. The worker pleads, offering to accept a house in hell instead. The manager, still fuming, tells the worker that he will assign them a remote job instead. As he continues his scolding, the receptionist rushes in and hands him a tablet. Looking at the screen, he furrows his brows and asks, "What did you do this time?" The receptionist hesitates before explaining, "Sir, the heroine doesn't deserve to die." The manager sighs in frustration. "If you have messed up again and it involves her, you are finished, that's it. And firing you." He places his hand on his forehead in exasperation. Just then, the receptionist interjects, "Wait, sir, there's nothing to worry about. We haven't officially confirmed their death yet. Not only that," she continues, "they are actually in a coma. Sending them back will be easy." The manager pauses. "Wait a minute," he starts to think. Then after a moment, he instructs, "Call them in. I have an idea." Turning to the heroine, he greets her with a polite smile. "Come in, madam. What seems to be the problem?" Confused, she asks, "What happened? Where am I?" He calmly explains, "Madam, you have entered this world after your death. Please wait while we determine whether you belong in heaven or hell. Once decided, we'll send you on your way." Her eyes widen in shock. "What? Am dead? That's impossible. Do you even know how healthy I was? I worked out every single day, ate only organic food." "There's no way," the manager nods. "Madam, you died in a car accident." She shakes her head in disbelief. "No way, I was driving a BMW. Do you even understand how well balanced that car is?" She continues arguing, refusing to accept reality. The manager sighs. "Listen, madam, when fate calls, no amount of healthy food or luxury cars can stop it. Everyone who arrives here reacts just like you. Just wait a while. We will decide where you are going." But she pleads, "No, sir, I shouldn't have died. Please, there must be something you can do." The manager smirks. "Oh, feeling regretful, are we?" He pauses for a moment before saying, all right. There is a special program in this world. If you agree to participate, we can return you to life." She looks at him suspiciously. "What kind of program? Am I even eligible for it?" The manager shrugs. "It's simple. Someone who was supposed to die in a month has already died. That has messed up our records. To balance things out, you will need to go back to Earth and live in another body for 1 month." Shocked, she asks, "What? You are saying I have to live in someone else's body for a month? How is that even possible?" The manager chuckles. "You are overthinking it, madam. Trust me, many people would kill for this opportunity." She hesitates for a moment, then straightens up. No. I'll do it." The manager smiles. "Good, it's settled then. All right, madam, the deal is done. Let's get your signature and finalize everything. With that, the agreement is sealed." The manager leads her to the mission. "Madam, place your hand here," he instructs. She obeys, placing her hand down. In an instant, there's a sharp sensation, and everything goes black. When she opens her eyes, she finds herself in an unfamiliar body, a woman's body, wearing old, worn-out clothes. A terrible smell surrounds her. Disgusted, she instinctively sniffs the fabric and cringes. Turning to a mirror, she gasps. Staring back at her is a middle-class woman, someone entirely different from who she once was. She lets out a scream. At that moment, a man rushes into the room. Shocked, she screams again. The heroine is completely overwhelmed. The night unfolds in confusion as she tries to process the situation, struggling to behave like the person she is now supposed to be. Then, suddenly, someone speaks. "Why are you wearing trousers again?" She turns startled. "Trousers, are they yours?" She notices a rope and instinctively holds onto it, feeling lost and trapped. Then, her eyes land on a framed photo. In the picture stands a married woman. A thought echoes in her mind. No one should have to depend on others, especially men. But now, she's stuck in a life she never imagined. As she struggles to make sense of everything, she steps outside and sees a teenage girl sitting there. "I'm ready for school," the girl says, her voice impatient. "I have to cook first. Don't you want to eat?" Without waiting for a response, she storms off angrily. Still dazed, the heroine mutters, "Amma, when did I become a mother?" Before she can process it, A little boy suddenly runs toward her. His face is filled with fear, and he hides behind her. "Stay away from me," she shouts. Stepping back, then another man appears, her supposed husband. He has a warm, gentle smile. "I'm hungry," he says simply. She stares at him, unsure how to respond. Noticing there's no food, he shrugs. "It's fine. I'll manage," he says before walking away. Just as she tries to catch her breath, the little boy tugs at her. "Amma," he calls out again. Panic surges through her. She grabs her head in frustration. "Did you just touch me?" she yells, startled by her own reaction. The boy looks scared but hands her a purse. "You forgot this," he says timidly. She hesitates before opening it. Inside, she finds an ID. Kang Suna, 34 years old. Her new identity. Just then, she hears, "It's time for school." The moment keeps rushing forward before she can even process what's happening. As she walks out, she encounters a rich, arrogant woman in the apartment complex. The woman looks her up and down, clearly unimpressed. With a condescending tone, she says, "I put up some posters on the left side, and your people tore them down." She sneers. This is exactly why low-class people shouldn't live in apartments. The heroine's blood boils. "Who are you calling low-class?" she snaps. Before she can say more, the young boy tugs at her arm. "Alma, don't fight, the school bus is coming." Taking a deep breath, she clenches her fists. "Let's go," she says, forcing herself to walk away. "I'll sell her for 10 rupees." Frustrated, she cuts the call. At the bus stop, she finds herself surrounded by a group of women, friends of the body she now inhabits. "Did you sleep well?" one of them asks with a knowing smile. Before she can respond, they surround her, patting her shoulders and chatting excitedly. The heroine is completely unaccustomed to this kind of interaction. She stands there stiffly, frozen like a statue. As they head inside, they turn back to wave at her, cheerful, almost doll-like. At that moment, she mutters under her breath, "I need to escape from here." Just as she's about to walk away, someone calls after her. "Where are you going?" "We're starting a new business." "Business?" she repeats skeptically. "You know about it, right?" She scoffs. "This is a business," and abruptly ends the conversation. Soon, she finds herself burdened with a heavy stack of materials she can barely lift. In the city, there's a shop that sells paper bags, and these women fold them at home to earn money. "This is how we make our living," they explain. The heroine stares at them incredulously. "This, a business?" "Yes, each finished bag earns us money. If we make 50, we get paid." "In planning to become rich this way, you are planning to get rich by folding paper bags?" she asks, almost laughing. "Forget it, I'm out of here." As she turns to leave, someone stops her. "Where do you think you are going?" "We do this every day." They drag her along to a restaurant. The women chatter endlessly, laughing and making jokes. "Did you see that Siri?" one of them exclaims, placing a hand on her forehead dramatically. As the conversation continues, reality sinks in. The life she has stepped into is nothing like her past one. Married, 2 kids. The realization hits her like a shockwave, and to make things worse, these women are feminists. Hearing their discussion, she feels a surge of anger. She storms in the restroom, screaming in frustration. Then, she grabs her wedding ring and tries to break it. But just as she does, an eerie force sweeps through the air, making the lights flicker. "Madam, what are you doing?" a voice asks in alarm. She turns around sharply. "I'm a ghost," she snaps. "When you made this deal, why didn't you explain it properly?" "A married woman with 2 kids? Is this what I signed up for?" She gestures wildly toward the women outside. "And look at those women, I can't take it anymore." But then, a voice calm and unwavering responds, "This is the deal. You have to live this life for 30 days. You must fully embrace the identity of this woman." 30 days, she echoes, her frustration mounting. "You cannot hold onto your past life. Little by little, your old memories will fade. But be warned, clinging to them will be dangerous." She grits her teeth. "I can't do this. I give up." "Fine," the voice replies. "Come to me, and I'll send you straight to heaven." She hesitates. "Don't act out of anger," the voice warns. Taking a deep breath, she closes her eyes. All right, I'll endure it. It's just a month." That night, she sits in the small, cluttered home, lost in thought. Married, 2 children, a life completely opposite of what she once had, and now she has to take care of the housework, too. "You've lived an ugly life. Just bear with it, it's only a month." Determined to make things more comfortable, she decides, "Let's do something about this. I can't keep wearing these clothes. Let's buy what we need." She heads to a high-end supermarket, luxurious and gleaming with expensive products. She confidently fills her cart with food and essentials, then approaches the cashier. With a stylish flick of her wrist, She pulls out a credit card, but the moment it's swiped declined, the cashier looks at her apologetically. There's no balance on this card. She swallows her pride and smoothly pulls out cash instead, only to realize she doesn't have nearly enough. With no choice, she grabs whatever she can afford. Just as she's about to leave, her phone rings. Ani, the boy is waiting for you, she groans, smacks her forehead, and dashes out. On the way, she mutters, "Don't look at me, I know. Even am looking at myself in disbelief." Inside the elevator, she bumps into a wealthy man. He eyes her shopping bags with mild amusement. Buying things so cheaply, his condescending smirk deepens. "Everything in my shop is affordable, but for you, maybe not." Annoyed, she turns away. "I'm so tired of this 10 rupee life." She cuts the call as night falls. Dinner is served. The meal looks familiar. Beef steak and omelette, just like she used to have. But these people, they don't even know how to eat it properly. As they sit around the table, she thinks, "I have worked hard enough. I deserve a break." "I'm planning to go on vacation for a month," she announces. The little girl looks at her in shock. "Vacation? Who's gonna cook for us? Who will take my brother to school? We'll hire a maid," she says nonchalantly. "A maid? You barely have money for my acting classes. You can't even afford proper packing, and now you want a maid so you can go on vacation?" The heroine snaps, "Why are you making fun of me?" "Just go along with it." Her husband, who has been listening quietly, suddenly gets up. His expression is serious. "I'm not playing," he says later that night in the bedroom, he's ready to sleep. "Are the kids asleep?" He asks. "They are asleep." But then he starts taking off his pants. "What are you doing?" she yells. He shrugs. "The kids are asleep." Disgusted, she tosses a rag onto the bed. "Don't come near me." His face darkens. "What's wrong with you? You ruined my life," she snaps. "You tricked an 18-year-old girl into marriage, had 2 kids, and now you expect me to act like a happy wife." He stares at her, stunned. "You are a scoundrel. Don't come near me." Anger flashes in his eyes. "Why didn't you say this before?" "Because I just realized it now." Frustrated, he storms out of the room, clutching the rag she threw at him. The next morning, he looks completely lost. Confused and upset, he confides in a friend. "Things at home have been strange. I always thought I was a good husband, but my wife says I'm not, and now she won't even look at me." Our hero's friend warns him, "This is how it starts. Don't do it. Affairs ruin everything." He explains, "People like that get beaten up and thrown out of good families." Then he adds, "Forget about it. Just get a divorce." The words linger in our hero's mind. He starts contemplating his next step when his boss suddenly arrives. "There's a new project," the boss announces, handing over a file. "And guess what? You're the project." The company's head walks in. "I run this company. If you become the head, then you can order me around. Until then, just do what I say." But at that moment, our hero snaps back to reality. He remembers his job, his responsibilities, without a word. The ladies, while chatting, gives her a petition to signatures for stop construction of new buildings. While she reads the documents, she remembers the rich person assigning and plans to go to her house to take the documents. The heroine goes to her house to take some files. She remembers the credit card the rich man gave and plans to use it for buying things. She takes the card and spends recklessly: expensive clothes, luxury bags, and now the consequences are catching up. Meanwhile, her son thinks his mother is not feeling well. That's why she is acting weird. So he rushes to a medical store and buys vitamins for her. When he hands them over, she gives him an odd look. The hero comes home and stares at her wife. He's confused by her reaction. What's going on with her? Frustrated, he pulls her aside. "We need to talk," he says, his voice tense. His anger suddenly flares. "When I was 18, you chased after me. Do you remember what I said back then?" He mimics his younger self. "No, I have to focus on my studies. Let's wait. We can get married later." "But you didn't listen. You wanted to marry me right away. You wanted to take care of me, to build a family together. And now what? You are tired of living with me?" Without waiting for an answer, he thrusts divorce papers into her hands. She stares at them, stunned, but he doesn't let go. His grip tightens around her wrist, his voice breaking. "Don't take it, don't take it," he mutters under his breath, as if willing her to understand. The moment is tense, but strangely tender. Then our heroine shoves him away. "Go," she yells, storming inside. Just then, their daughter appears, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Mom, I'm hungry. Can I have something to eat?" From inside the room, our hero's frustrated voice booms. "What the hell is this? I worked for 6 months and you spend it all on a coat." His wife shouts back, "Why are you yelling? I bought it with my money." Her words cut deep. "Your money?" he repeats, his voice hollow. We never lived like this before the argument can escalate. The doorbell rings. It's the police. Apparently, someone reported an issue with the credit card using someone else's card without permission. That's a crime. They drag him to the police station while our heroine, completely panicked, scrambles for an explanation. Wait, this is my friend's card. She gave it to me willingly, she insists. The officers remain unconvinced. If a wife financially harms her husband, do we let it go? One of them says, desperate. She blurts out, listen, my lawyer and I studied together. We're best friends. She saw how poor we were and gave me the card. What's wrong with that? The officer sighs and checks their records. Turns out our hero once studied law, but dropped out before completing his degree. Realizing their mistake, the police apologize. We're sorry, sir. Please ask your wife for forgiveness. The tables have turned. Seeing the officer's nervous expressions, our hero smirks. Now they are the ones afraid of making mistakes. As they walk away, he turns to his wife and says, I take good care of you. You know that, right? She remains silent. He watches her carefully. You don't have to say anything. I understand. Then he leans in slightly and asks, can I ask you something? His eyes darken. Do you have an affair? The heroine shakes her head. It's nothing like that. I trust you completely. I know my wife. There's no room for insecurity. He gently pats her head. After losing her mother, the heroine grew up without love and affection. Now, as he comforts her, an uneasy feeling settles between them. They stand silently on the terrace. But something feels off. The divorce was filed. The police were involved. If things keep going this way, the deal will fall apart. Take care of it, someone warns. No, sir, she replies firmly. From now on, I'll be a good housewife. I'll take care of everything. There won't be any more problems. They cut the video. Later, their daughter asks, why is mom acting like this? You know your mother. Is she a thief? Someone responds, she didn't say that, but she's different. She's cute. Should she forgive him? Someone else asks. Why should I forgive him? He didn't do anything wrong, the heroine says, stepping in. She looks at her husband. I'll return everything. Why should you return it? My wife is beautiful and I'm proud of her. I'll pay for all of it, he declares. Wife, she repeats, caught off guard. Yes. If not my wife, then whose else? He replies smoothly. Something stirs in her, a strange feeling she can't quite place. The next day, the heroine speaks with an aunt. The construction work was supposed to start in 5 years, but now it's happening in 3. Where will we go? The aunt asks. While discussing it, the heroine expresses a desire to see the site with her own eyes. Meanwhile, a lawyer's assistant approaches her. We have to proceed with this case. She's also searching for a job. She opens a cupboard. There's a note inside. A single rupee is taped to it, along with a scribbled message. Did he leave money? She wonders, unfamiliar with such gestures. Just then, the little boy enters. Sorry, I should have picked you up, he says, handing her a pill. His childlike concern is evident. The hero walks in, watching silently. Something about the scene unsettles him. He crumples a piece of paper in frustration. He doesn't act. There's a party at the office tomorrow. Will you come? He asks. If not, it's okay. The heroine nods. I'll come. The next evening, the party is in full swing. The hero waits, then turns, and there she is. She steps into the room, her look completely transformed. A new hairstyle, elegant dress. She radiates confidence. Why do you look like that? He asks, surprised. Do I look beautiful? She teases. As introductions begin, the hero presents her to his boss. To his shock, the heroine blends in effortlessly. She's been to parties like this before. She knows exactly how to carry herself. His curiosity deepens. How is she so socialized? Then her boss arrives. The hero had once pitched an idea to him, one that was rejected. Now, as they talk, the boss superior steps in, cutting the conversation short. You're just trying to make money, the superior says. That's fine. But if your company wants to build a reputation, you will follow my plan. Seeing his boss agree, the smaller boss fumes. The hero watches the scene unfold until suddenly the heroine speaks up. You are doing this for a bribe. You refuse to innovate. You just want control. No one can question you. Isn't that right? The room falls silent. The hero, sensing tension, tries to calm her. Apologize. Instead, she turns to the smaller boss. You insult my wife. I'll rip your mouth apart. The hero growls. His voice is low, dangerous. It's unexpected because the hero isn't rich. He isn't powerful, has a lower middle class man, and he needs this job. Yet, for her, he stands up. The backlash is immediate. The hero is reprimanded. I don't care, he mutters under his breath. If I lose this job, so be it. Leaving the party, he sits by the roadside drinking. He isn't angry at his wife. If it had been anyone else, They would have yelled at her, but he doesn't. Instead, his frustration spills out in slurred words. You should control your anger, someone advises. He scoffs. And if someone disrespects my wife, you think I'll stay quiet? A sudden question cuts through the haze. Why did you drop out of law school? For a moment, he doesn't answer. Then quietly he confesses, I lost my memory. I forgot everything. There's a pause. Okay. Then tell me, the other person presses. The hero exhales. His life had been a mess. Then he found her, a beautiful wife, a family. One day at the hospital, a nurse handed him a baby. The child looked up at him with innocent eyes, and in that moment, he made a decision. My life belongs to them now. I'll take care of them. I'll do whatever it takes. He never had parents. He knew what it felt like to be alone. He vowed never to let his children experience that. You won't go hungry, not even for a day. I'll do any job, but I'm happy. I'm very happy. Drunk and emotional, he rambles. At home, he calls out, hey, wife, my dear wife, come fast. Let's sleep. She asked her to sleep. As she sleeps along with the child, nearby groans. Mom, be quiet, he mutters, placing a small hand over her mouth. At first, he tries to push her away, but then she pats him, feeling the motherly love. Next morning, she tries to cook rice. The girl demands $10 before going to school. She asks her to fold the paper bag to get the money. The girl leaves the home, staring the mom. The rich lady annoys the heroine's friends to buy her products and leaves. The heroine's child, while walking, skids and falls down. An elderly man with a grandkid helps him. The rich lady comes to the old man and asks him to close the shop and leave the place immediately as he didn't pay the market fee. As she shouts, the heroine arrives. What's happening? She asks. The boy turns to her. Let's go, she says, but just as they start to leave, the young boy tugs at her hand. Mom, he pleads, when I was in trouble, that man helped me, but now he's the one in trouble. The heroine pauses. She looks at them, processing his words. Then she nods. You think you're doing everything right? She asked coldly. The rich lady smirked. You have an advertisement board on our apartment. You installed internet connections. Who gave you permission for all this? The smirk faded. Do you even know how much you owe for the apartment? Do you know how much you have to pay? Silence. Last year, you made a lot of money, but when the tax cut came, you didn't share a single cent. The rich lady, visibly shaken, gulped. The heroine's voice was steady. You need to start respecting the law. Under her gaze, she trembled. Then, suddenly, she blurted out, I'm sorry. She apologized to everyone before bolting away. The crowd was stunned. An auntie muttered, she must have memorized all this from Wikipedia. Another auntie chuckled, her husband was a law student. He must have taught her well. The next morning, her daughter stormed in. Give it to me now, she demanded, slamming hand down on the table. She counted the bills. I paid exactly 967. Give me a $10 bill. She grabbed the note. And don't forget the remaining 33 cents. I expect it back. With that, she turned and left. Where her wealthy boyfriend had brought her home. He informs that his parent gone on business trip. She sits on the sofa. The boy brings her juice and sat near her. He touches her. She moves away. When he tries to kiss, she tries to avoid and sees a mobile camera recording them, and she sees that and tries to escape from the place. But the boyfriend and his friends surrounded her. Laughter erupted. People around them were mocking her. Her face turned pale. She spun, trying to escape, but hands reached out, pushing her, shoving her. Meanwhile, back at home, the heroine was working, but something felt off. The door slammed. She turned to see her daughter storm in, tossing her bag aside. What happened to you? The heroine asked. The girl didn't answer. When she finally checked on her daughter, she froze. Her daughter's face was bruised. Her eyes puffy and red from crying. She lay curled up in bed silent. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to see anyone. She just wanted to be alone. She locked the door. If you want something, she said firmly, you have to open your mouth and speak. But our heroine was still in pain. When you scream, they will come straight for you. When you lock yourself away and refuse to speak, they will take advantage of that. The girl clenched her fists, her voice trembling. Is this how you talk to someone when they are hurting? She shouted. Won't you say it's okay? Everything will be fine. Won't you tell me I'm safe? Her voice cracked. Poor girl, she sobbed. I don't even know how to speak up, right? That's why they keep hurting me. That's why they are scaring me, trying to break me. Tears streamed down her face. Don't be afraid, she choked out. I ran away from them. I let them go. But now what? I can't even go to school anymore. Can I? Her cries echoed through the room. The heroine's heart ached. She pulled her close, holding her tightly. Don't worry about anything, she whispered. I'm here, Mom. I'll take care of it. The girl sobbed into her mother's shoulder. Just then, a rich family, accompanied by a lawyer, arrived. Their voices were smooth, like in the practice. Just on one side, the girl was crying. On the other, they were making their offer. Look here, son. You are grown up now. Their words were sharp and calculated. Whatever case you file, we'll handle it. He'll go abroad to study. He doesn't need to stay here. He'll have a good life, far away from all this. Just take the money and go. Their voices dripped with indifference. What happened? A little incident? A small mistake? That's all right. The heroine's hands curled into fists. Her eyes burned with unshed tears. She turned and walked straight to the restroom. Inside, she broke down. She sobbed and sobbed, gasping for air. We have been living in a world like this. She thought bitterly. How much pain must that mother have endured, and we're only realizing it now. Her body shook as she wept. Just then, her daughter came into the room, tears streaking her face. They're right, Mom, she whispered. Defeated? We're poor. What can we even do? We can't fight this. Let's just leave. Her voice was barely above a whisper. The heroine lifted her head, eyes still damp. She reached out and gently wiped away her daughter's tears. Then she straightened her back. Who told you that? She asked, her voice steady. That if you don't have money, you can't fight. She didn't wait for an answer. She stepped forward, pulled out a chair, and sat down. Let's talk, she said. She let the lawyer speak first, and just as before, he repeated his argument. Look here. This boy has a bright future. He'll be happy. His words were smooth, effortless. Think about life. Your daughter's life will be ruined if you fight this. The room was silent. But this time, the heroine didn't flinch. She had made up her mind. Mom, is he the only one who gets to go abroad? Her daughter asked. If I send you, won't you go too? The room fell silent. Then they pulled out a recorder from the packet. Mom, the girl whispered, her voice steady but laced with determination. The people outside are scared. From beyond the door, voices called out, Madame, Madame, but the heroine remained calm. Don't worry, she assured them. This isn't for court. And trust me, I know a few laws too. She turned to the lawyer, her eyes sharp. You know, she said, her voice dropping to a quiet intensity. I don't know why, but suddenly I feel like ruining your life. She leaned in. So what are you going to say? That the case will drag on? Fine, let it take time. But tell me, why did you touch my daughter? Her words cut through the air like a knife. The boy's face paled. And what did you say? That you'll send her abroad? Hey, brother, she let out a bitter laugh. Wherever you go in this world, in any country you step foot in, you will be known as an attempted rapist. Do you think you are the only one who uses Twitter and Facebook? Your face will be everywhere. The lawyer tried to protest. What? She interrupted. Are you worried that if the girl's identity is revealed, her life will be ruined? She smiled coldly. I'm here. I'm her mother. We'll go wherever we need to. She stood up. Let's go. Come, child. They turned to leave, ignoring the desperate pleas behind them. The boy shouted, his voice trembling with anger. Why are you talking so much? You came to my house with her, didn't you? Before he could finish, the heroine snapped. She grabbed his hair and yanked him down, forcing him to the floor. Say another disgusting word, she growled, and I'll show you exactly what kind of woman you messed with. She pressed down on him, her strength fueled by fury. How many times will you repeat the same excuses? You think a girl trusts you, and you break that trust, and then you have the audacity to tarnish her name? She turned to her daughter. Ask him. The girl hesitated, then looked at the boy. Say sorry, she demanded. The boy struggled, his arrogance crumbling. Say it, the heroine commanded. His voice broke. Sorry, 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 he stammered, his body shaking. And just like that, the scene cut. Now, the heroine sat with her daughter. The girl grinned. Mom, you were on another level back there. For a moment, I felt like I was with someone else. Then she leaned against her mother's shoulder. But you're so cool, you know, and I love you, Mom. The heroine's heart swelled. Motherhood, this feeling, this warmth, wrapped around her like a gentle embrace. Suddenly, someone broke the moment. Okay, don't leave the bag on the floor, they reminded her. The daughter groaned. Ugh, Mom, you're a real mood spoiler. But there was laughter in her voice and a lightness in the air. That was it. Days passed, and our heroine embraced a new life. She became the pillar of a middle-class family. She found joy in simple things, caring for her daughter, bathing a little boy, serving food to her husband. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was happy, and so were they. They no longer missed the old heroine because they had fallen in love with this new life, this new version of her. Then, one day, she raised her hand from above. Below Her husband and daughter reached up, their hands meeting hers. She turned back, smiling, and then a male officer arrived. She felt it in her chest. This moment, this happiness, it was about to change. I'm so happy. I have never felt this happy in my life. She spoke with a smile, lost in the moment, but then there's only 1 week left. The words hit like a storm. Our heroine's heart clenched. A heart attack? No. Something worse? What kind of cruel design is this? She whispered. A loving family, innocent children, a husband willing to sacrifice everything for them. And now, in just a week, they were going to lose someone they loved. Why? Why like this? Tears welled up in her eyes. How? How will they die? I can't tell you that, came the answer. I refuse to accept this, she cried, her voice breaking. The air around her grew heavy. Look, he said softly. Life is short, but no one truly understands that. People chase competition, jealousy, hatred, money, fame. They seek praise and validation. Forgetting what truly matters, his voice was calm yet firm. The greatest gift in this world is happiness. And that happiness, it's family. The words cut deep. But no one realizes it, he continued. Maybe, just maybe, you have finally understood in this past month. She gasped, her breath hitching. Yes, they will suffer. The pain will be unbearable. But we can't change fate. Birth and they are a balance. A cycle? No, she shouted. I don't care what you say. I won't accept it. I can feel their pain. It's real. It's too much. She trembled. Then do something, he said. Ease their pain while you can. You have 1 week. A single week. Her heart pounded. Suddenly, they showed us the heroine, her face filled with realization. At that moment, she knew she didn't want wealth. She didn't want status. She didn't want a luxurious life. She just wanted to be a mother to her children, a wife to her loving husband. And now, knowing she might lose it all, she sobbed in that heartbreaking realization. The scene shifted. Her husband, his face bruised, his pride shattered, stood before his manager. His wife had suffered greatly. And now, the manager, with a cold expression, signed a transfer order. I never wrote that. The hero protested. The manager smirked. Oh, but the proof says otherwise. With a flick of his hand, the hero was sent away. Rage burned in his chest. If he hadn't held back, the manager would have been beaten to a pulp. He stormed home. He had to tell her, I've been transferred, he said, his voice strained. I have to leave. He took a deep breath. But I'll come back. Somehow I'll come back. Tears streamed down her face. Regret flooded her. This is all because of me, she sobbed. I should have kept quiet. I should have just stayed silent. But deep down she knew even if she had stayed silent, fate would have still played its cruel hand. And now time was slipping away. 1 week. Just 1 week left. I don't have the patience or responsibility that you do. Tears welled up as she spoke, her voice trembling. He sighed, shaking his head. Hey, what happened now? This is normal at work. He sat beside her, gently wiping her tears. That's why my dear wife shouldn't be crying like this. His words were soft, filled with warmth, but there was no time to dwell on emotions. They had to act. They only had a week. Desperation set in as they decided to meet the manager directly. They stood before him, pleading, Please, sir, I will even fall at your feet. Just don't transfer him. But the manager remained unmoved. Their words fell on deaf ears. You don't understand, they begged. Please help us. But he smirked, his voice laced with arrogance. I spoke to him the other day. Even if he gets transferred again, he will still be sent away. You will have to learn to live without your husband. The words struck like a dagger. They clung to his hands, still begging. But when he tried to walk away, the heroine clenched his fists and asked him to sit down. She called the owner of the construction company and had a conversation with him. On hearing this, the manager sat down. She inquired about the lobbies happening in the construction site and the manager involvement in it. She found out when she saw the manager wearing the watch which is given as bribe. The manager, in shocking tone, asks the heroine who is she. She replies that she is Hero's wife. Suddenly, the manager was scrambling, running in circles, fixing the mess he had created, and just like that, the problem was solved. But even as they celebrated this small victory, life had another cruel twist waiting for them. Their little boy, he was playing, laughing, showing off his tricks, and then he collapsed. Panic, they rushed him to the hospital. And what they heard shattered them, a problem with his retina, a genetic disorder. This condition is passed down through generations. The doctor explained it's why he has vision issues. It caused the fainting spell. The room spun, a flashback hit our heroine like a wave. Fear clawed at her chest because she knew this disease, it was in their blood. She had suffered from it as a child. Her mother, poor and desperate, had done everything in her power to treat it, and now history was repeating itself. Tears streamed down her face. She argues with the ghostly man that it's not fair to harm little kid. She claims that she is his temporary mom and how her disease caught him. How will he bear it? Even if I was a mother for just a month, how can he bear the price for the sin I committed when I'm alive? She sobbed, his whole body trembling. Tears streamed down her face. Why? Why should these innocent children suffer for my mistakes? Her cries turned into desperate pleas. Is this your way of balancing the world? Is this justice? Punish me, do whatever you want, send me to hell, but please, don't hurt him. Don't harm this family. He wept, begging for mercy. Meanwhile, in the distance, his husband arrived, sensing his presence. She quickly wiped her tears and hid her anguish. He comes to the heroine, comforting and hugs her. The child was resting peacefully, unaware of the storm raging around him. Later that night, she lay beside the boy, gently stroking his hair. When I was young, my mother left me, and my father, he was gone too. I was left all alone. Her voice trembled, a painful past resurfacing. My mother suffered. She struggled and struggled until one day she couldn't anymore. She swallowed hard. After that, I made a promise to myself I wouldn't depend on anyone. I erased every trace of my father, his clothes, his photos. I lived like a lone tree, standing by itself. But now, when I'm in pain, I wish I had a shoulder to lean on. I wish I could wake up to someone who loves me, someone who takes care of me. Her gaze softened. Beautiful children, a loving husband, but a father. I wish they were all here. He let out a bitter laugh. But I'm just unlucky, aren't I? She broke down and embraced him, crying. The next day, the operation, the family sat in tense silence waiting, and in the far corner of the hospital, someone stood watching. Who was it? The male world manager. As soon as he stepped forward, our heroine came outside. A black car pulled up. The door opened. Please get in, he ordered. Your life as you know it ends today. You need to return to the male world now. Her expression hardened. What are you talking about? My son is in surgery. My family is in pain. How can I leave now? She shook her head. I'll come later. But the manager's voice turned cold. You still don't understand, do you? He said. That is not your family. You are only here for a month, just acting temporarily. Your real life is waiting for you. Please. Get in the car. The words cut through the air like a blade. I can't, she whispered, her voice trembling. That is my family, my son, my husband. How can I leave them? I like to forfeit as a lawyer and remain in this family. If possible, please do it, she begs him. The official stood firm. He says if she gets in the car, the child's disease will go away. Hearing this, she tries to run to see his child. The manager stops her in the middle of the road and made her unable to walk. The truck comes near her fastly as if it's going to hit. He stops just before it hits her. Then he gives her few seconds to bid farewell to the family. She runs to the hospital, sees her husband and girl. She hugs her girl, advises to be happy always. Then she sees her boy and says she loves him very much and cries. When she comes out of the hospital room, she sees her husband and asks him to take care of the kid. Not knowing she is going to die, she smiles and sends her to have breakfast. She cries and leaves. She dies and wakes up in her own body. Once she woke up, she takes the cab, goes to the hospital, but they didn't find the family. Then she goes to the apartment where the family stayed. When checking her apartment, the family is not there and all looks different. Days pass by. 1 month later, she gives the pen drive to her friend lawyer that contains proof of the construction company illegal activities. He got shocked and asks why she is doing this. She says, I had a wonderful dream. Smiles, taking her vitamin tablet, and leaves. Determined to start her new journey, she starts packing things to move. As they cleared out their belongings, their fingers brushed against an old photograph. A picture of their mother, folded, creased with time. With shaking hands, she unfolded it, and there, standing beside their mother, was their father, their breath caught in their throat. Tears welled up as realization dawned. The male world manager was her father, the very man they had resented for so long, a man who had orchestrated this entire experience, just to make her understand, to show her the meaning of family, to make her feel the pain of losing it. Tears streamed down her face. He must have missed him terribly. Now, as she boarded the flight, she sat silently, lost in thought. The weight of everything that had happened pressed down on her. Then, Madam, can you move a little? A familiar little voice. Her heart stopped. Slowly, she turns. Haru, their eyes widened in shock. What are you doing here? The boy blinked. Do you know me? He asked innocently. She froze. When she turned back in slow motion, she saw their entire family watching them, standing there. Tears burned in their eyes. She didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say. Her heart screamed to run back, but her body remained frozen in place. The flight attendants made their final announcements. The plane was preparing for takeoff. The heroine asks where they are headed. The boy replies, their mother is gone. We are moving somewhere else. The hero asks, where are you going? The heroine says she goes to meet her father. The camera lingered on her face. A small, knowing smile formed, because deep down, everyone knew what would happen next. They would stay with their family. The hero would take care of them. The screen faded to black. A moment of silence. How was this movie? A deeply emotional journey. I don't know how many of you watched till the end, but I hope it left you with something meaningful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And don't forget to hit the bell icon. See you soon. Bye.